So that was just a little flurry of ideas, and I'm incorporating several scales, but the pentatonic was sort of the foundation, which I think you can hear. So the first thing with this exercise, and of course you can download the worksheet, pentatonic exercises. I don't know, maybe by the time we get this up, I'll have a more creative name for it. But the idea from this is that we go level 1, level 2, level 3. You can kind of read along. But first and foremost, you know, when we do exercises, whether it's something that you're getting from me, or that we develop on our own, or that we take from something else that we know and extend upon it, it's very important that we think about the end result that we want, because we're not ever practicing exercises to be able to play exercises. No one's going to want to come to your gig and here you go. And run up and down a pentatonic scale. It's just, that's music. This is just the weightlifting. This is just the repetition, the reps and steps that we do to be able to play parts of this as we go. But we do want to think about like what we're going to actually be doing with this. So as I develop these exercises, I was thinking about, okay, this is really for soloing in the right hand. So the first thing I'm thinking about is range, okay? And that's why I started this right here, C below middle C, because we're right here in the tenor range, which is a great place for us to solo. And a lot of times we don't do it enough. So, like, we're always thinking, you know, kind of C, middle C, and above for the right hand. And that's a great area, but this, I love soloing down here. So you got to think about this. In order to play in that range, you don't want to have to think about it. You want to start getting the sound of what it sounds like when you are playing and your hand is physically in that position. It's kind of a tricky concept to understand, but in other words, whatever we're repeating when we're practicing is going to be something that we can draw upon once we get to the bandstand without having to think about it. Okay? So in other words, if you want to start soloing more in the tenor range, you got to practice in the tenor range. That's just sort of the way it goes. So the other thing is, I always think these exercises and scales, people don't do them in enough octaves. I kind of compromise a little. I see a lot of 1 octave, 2 octaves. This is a big instrument. We got a lot available to us. I always learned, you know, I just had a flashback to when I was young, learning all my scales. My teacher, a wonderful teacher, Jane Allen, who every scale, every arpeggio had to be 4 octaves, always, minimum, but definitely 4 octaves. So I always had that in my mind. So to me, it's always funny when I hear 2 octaves. Do we really just want to learn to play in that range of the instrument? It's so easy for us to think about. You know, well, we're just repeating it and going up. But the thing is, your hand, your body position, everything, and especially how the instrument sounds in those different ranges, and your interaction and reaction to that is violently different in the different octaves. So we have to think about, where do we want to be soloing? I mean, yeah, of course, we want to have the option of playing with the right hand down here and up here, but the bulk of the majority, most players are just playing in here, and that's all they practice with scales. So I'm going to have you extend a little bit. So 3 octaves, starting at the C below middle C. And what I want is your hand, your body position, everything, and especially how the instrument sounds in those different ranges, and your interaction and reaction to that is violently different in the different octaves. So we have to think about, where do we want to be soloing? I mean, yeah, of course, we want to have the option of playing with the right hand down here and up here, but the bulk of the majority, most players are just playing in here, and that's all they practice with scales. So I'm going to have you extend a little bit to 3 octaves, starting at the C below middle C. And what I wanted to do was to come up with some exercises that had something to do with music and phrasing from the very beginning. The simplest way to practice the pentatonic exercise, a pentatonic scale, and look, that had something to do with music and phrasing from the very beginning. The simplest way to practice the pentatonic exercise, a pentatonic scale, and look, we're in the key of E flat here or C minor. think about it either way, but the idea is that, you know, if you just go up and then come down, that's fine. Most of you know that, and you can kind of figure that out on your own. Plus, there's a lot of guys. This is really about starting to connect, you know, the direction and a little bit of music and a little bit of phrasing, hand positioning, accents, all the different things that we want to bring out in our playing, kind of from the beginning of doing this exercise. So we've got. So this is level 1, level 1A. These are all the same notes, just with different rhythms. Very important for phrasing, though. We'll get to that. The idea of this one is we're going up, and we're going to talk about fingering, don't worry. For those of you who don't like fingering, worry. But we're going to go up a straight pentatonic scale, 3 octaves. And then instead of just coming down, we're going to skip a note, and then go up, skip a note, go up. It's almost like you're walking down 2 stairs, up 1, down 2. And this is important because you can almost play this exercise like that as the foundation for actual lines, but certainly taking segments out of this. And I always think like with pentatonics, like when you go up or you go down and then you turn around, no matter how complicated it is, you can almost play this exercise like that as the foundation for actual lines, but certainly taking segments out of this. And I always think like with pentatonics, like when you go up or you go down and then you turn around, no matter how complicated it is, like those turns and stuff, that's sort of where the magic is. So that starts to build in a little bit of this. So instead of, which is fine, but so all 3 of these levels, level 1, level 2, and level 3 of how we practice, level 1 and 2 with the 3 different ways, rhythms that we practice with level 1 and 2 are really about, you know, how do we turn? And then level 2 just is a little different way of turning, and it's a different shape coming down. Talk about fingering, okay? Because I saw some whack stuff online about somebody talking about, you know, just use 3 fingers, and I can't stand stuff like that because it gets your hand out of position. You know, in practicing this stuff, we have to develop. I mean, who wants to play with 6 fingers instead of 10? What a disadvantage, right? How do we develop the strength, the independence, the ability to phrase with the 4th and 5th fingers if we're not playing them, especially when we're working on scale? I mean, it's like, you know, I guess you could play a major scale with just 3 fingers, or just 2. That's pretty hard. But the idea is like, we want to have maximum flexibility in the hand positioning as we move around the instrument. And the more fingers that we use, the better. Now, we do want to keep in mind, and I think I did, I really wrestled with these. I never put these down for these exact shapes, but I had a couple different variables, but I think I got to the ones that make the most sense for most people. And so we're mainly using, going up, we're mainly using 1, 2, 3 with a little bit of 4, but the whole thing about this is like we can use the 4th finger more effectively when we're coming down and turning to set up, and the 5th finger as well, to set up our position as we move across the piano. Okay, so there's not a lot of different choices.
Он говорит, можно одним пальцем играть соло, но то у тебя такой бенд будет, что будет гитара попала там. Одним пальцем вместе с кулачиной двигать. Вот так он, да, ты понял, что фортепиано можно тоже, наверное, так. как-нибудь типа того. Двумя пальцами играть. Да. У тебя такой саунд зато будет вообще просто. Ладно, забудь. Поехали. Да, нельзя.
So that's kind of what it is. When we get to the top, we're at 4, and then I'm trying to
Это
find
так
a
понятно.
different place to
Что
start.
если?
Or 5, but
Не пожалей потом только, да. Ну, не пожалей, а лучше и так все.
so that we can keep,
Хотя
you
теряешь.
know, our wrists from having to go in and out, up and down. So we're doing that shape. The skipping, so our wrists from having to go in and out, up and down. So we're doing that shape, the skipping step shape, but we're still moving just like, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. So what you'll see is coming down, I think, is a much more comfortable, because we're able to use, you know, 4 out of the 5 instead of just
Да,
3
получается.
or much and going up.
Ну, что ты будешь еще поставить? Акценты не там находятся.
But you always know, and look, you can totally vary from these fingers,
Yeah,
and you should if it doesn't feel right to you, you can't execute, but the idea of knowing the right fingering for you is about that wrist moving evenly. Like if you're doing a lot of that, there's probably something wrong with the fingering. Okay, so a lot of slow practice. And so you see, if I use 3 there instead of 4, I wouldn't be set up to finish that off. And that's the same thing at a bunch of the places. That's why all the 4s are where they are. Okay, let's move on to 1B because this starts to make some more sense for the phrasing. We're going to triplets. Same succession of notes, but triplets. So it's 1, down, 3, 4. Again. Okay? Now, jumping forward a little bit, this is so important when you got the 1, 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. That kind of sound, where we're combining it with the 8th note, with the triplets, or maybe. So it's the same kind of. No matter what I'm mixing it up with, same thing with that wrist. I've trained to have that wrist, no unnecessary movements, control, be able to really. Okay, so whether I'm at the 8th note, triplet, or like what we're about to do with the 16th notes, we have that control, we have the feel for those shapes, and how the notes slide differently depending upon the rhythm.
Что-то принадлежит.
Okay? So that's level 1.
Нет,
Let's
про
do
себя
level 1C.
принадлежит.
I think
Про
you
себя
guys will get this.
принадлежит
You don't
себе,
hear me
да.
practicing something. It's a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 1,
Я
C.
вот МЦУ, видишь? Я вот тоже не думал, что в МЦУ такие бывают, если такие не бывают. Шигаруес, сучтырм дём, МЦУ они.
Now these are set up A, B, C so that if you start the same tempo, the same quarter note, wherever you want to start, you should always start on the slower side for sure.
Правильно,
That
не
you have
умеет
a
это.
natural progression through the different rhythms and the triplets and the
Моё.
16, but also to being able to execute these shapes a little bit quicker as you go. So in other words, if you start here,
Отлично, просто отлично.
1A. Four. This is a great way to practice on young C. And you go on to the next key. Or whatever, or you can stick with the same key and do level 2. So that's kind of the idea. But I mean, these are really useful. They're very useful, great to get into your hand. Let's go level 2 now. We're at level 1, we're going to go level 2, A, B, and C. Ready? Same thing going up. Looking at the fingerings is really hard for me. So I got in as much 5 now as I could.
Могу попробовать, следующее поставить. Мозга-то нет. можешь играть, не так.
I wanted to really show how we use these, how we can use all different fingers. We'll jump into a little bit more interesting shape already coming down. Same thing going up, we're going up straight, pentatonic scale, then coming down. We're skipping a note, we're going back up, skipping a note, and then we're coming down one, skipping one, up, skipping a note, skip one, coming down, right? Okay? Right? So this again is one that we're really going to use in different situations, fragments. I'm using this all the time. level 1, coming down, and then level 2. Okay? So the same thing, we're going to take it through different rhythms.